The plane hummed softly as it soared above the clouds, cruising at 30,000 feet. Inside, passengers settled into the rhythm of flight, some with headphones, others flipping through magazines or drifting into sleep. In row 17, by the window, sat a girl no one had really noticed when they boarded. 15-year-old Lena, small for her age and quiet as a whisper, traced gentle lines in her sketchbook. Her pencil danced across the page, forming wings, feathers, and open skies. Beside her sat a woman gripped by nerves. She clutched the armrest tightly, knuckles white, eyes darting with each bump of turbulence. "First time flying," she muttered, trying to laugh it off. Lena turned to her and smiled, soft, reassuring. Without a word, she tore a page from her sketchbook and handed it over. A dove, soaring above a sea of clouds. The woman blinked, speechless, then exhaled. "Thank you," she whispered. "That, actually helps." For a few moments, peace settled between them. Then, without warning, the cabin lights flickered. A deep mechanical groan rippled through the fuselage. Everything stopped. No engine hum. No cabin pressure whir. Just a jolt, and then silence. A heartbeat passed. Then another. Screams broke the stillness. The plane trembled. Overhead bins flew open. Oxygen masks dropped. Chaos erupted like a sudden storm. In the middle of it all, Lena closed her sketchbook gently, placed it under her seat, and looked straight ahead. Her face remained calm, almost too calm, as if she had been waiting for this moment. The plane dipped sharply, sending trays and cups tumbling through the air. A child cried out. An elderly man clutched his chest. Passengers gripped their armrests as if their hands alone could keep the aircraft from falling out of the sky. The intercom crackled with static, then the captain's voice, strained, controlled, "Ladies and gentlemen, we've lost all engine power. Please remain calm." But calm had already left the cabin. A flight attendant stumbled as she rushed down the aisle, trying to reassure panicked passengers. She lost her footing, slamming hard into the galley wall with a cry of pain. Her ankle twisted beneath her. Another attendant rushed to help, eyes wide with fear. The sense of control, of safety, was unraveling. Some prayed. Others called out to loved ones. One man shouted into his phone, desperate for a signal. The plane was gliding, but not gracefully, it was falling, slowly and silently, like a wounded bird. Lena unbuckled her seatbelt, steady and sure. The woman beside her grabbed her arm. "What are you doing?" she cried. "I need to go," Lena said softly. "I can help." She moved up the aisle, past shaking hands and wide eyes, stepping carefully as if she'd trained for this her whole life. No one stopped her. Something about her presence, calm, purposeful, parted the panic like a wave. When she reached the front, the cockpit door was ajar, the co-pilot slumped motionless. The captain looked up, eyes bloodshot, voice trembling. Lena took a breath. "I know how to glide." The cockpit smelled of burnt wiring and fear. Warning lights blinked across the control panel like angry stars. The captain's hands trembled on the yoke, sweat beading at his temples. He glanced at Lena, a teenage girl standing barefoot in the doorway, her expression unnervingly calm. What did you say?" he asked, barely above a whisper. "I've trained on gliders," Lena repeated, voice steady. "My dad used to fly. No power, no engines, just wind and wings." She pointed at the instrument panel. "This plane's still flying. It just doesn't know how to land yet." The captain stared at her, torn between disbelief and desperation. Behind them, the co-pilot slumped unconscious, his headset askew. There was no backup. No time. "You're just a kid," he muttered. "I'm your only option," she replied, her eyes locked onto his. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he moved aside. Lena climbed into the seat, her hands small but confident on the controls. Her breathing slowed. Everything she'd learned, every weekend in the air with her father, came flooding back. Her fingers found familiar switches. The altimeter ticked down, the ground creeping closer. Behind the cockpit door, terrified passengers braced themselves, unaware that their fate now rested in the hands of a girl who'd never even been behind the controls of a jet. Lena looked straight ahead, her voice clear. "We don't fight the fall. We fly it." And with that, the descent became something else, a controlled glide, led by Grace. The clouds thinned, revealing a patchwork of fields and empty roads below. Alarms still blared in the cockpit, but Lena blocked them out. Her eyes scanned the landscape, searching, there. A narrow stretch of dirt, maybe an old farm runway or just a dry field wide enough to try. It wasn't perfect, but it was possible. "We've got one shot," she said quietly. The captain nodded, still stunned, now just following her lead. "Talk me through it." She did. Calm, focused, like her father had taught her on quiet summer mornings in an old glider. "Adjust the angle. Keep your airspeed. Read the wind, trust the lift, don't overcorrect." The jet, once a helpless mass of metal, began to respond, slow, clumsy, but willing. Back in the cabin, silence had returned. Passengers clutched each other, bracing for the unknown. The woman from row 17 whispered a prayer, Lena's dove drawing still folded in her hands. A little boy pressed his face to the window. "Mom," he said, "I think that girl is saving us." In the cockpit, the ground rushed up. Lena kept the nose level, hands firm on the yoke. Every muscle in her body focused, her heart pounding so loud she could hardly hear the wind. Then, impact. A hard jolt. Screeching metal. Luggage flew. The plane skidded, then slowed, then, miraculously, stopped. A second of stunned silence. Then sobs. Cheers. People embracing strangers. And in the cockpit, Lena let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. They were alive. All of them. Dust swirled around the motionless plane as emergency crews raced across the field. The aircraft, battered but intact, sat like a fallen giant that had somehow landed on its feet. The emergency doors opened with a hiss, and one by one, passengers stepped out, blinking in the harsh sunlight, many crying, others laughing through tears. Lena stayed behind until everyone else had gone. She helped a limping flight attendant down the steps, then paused at the top of the stairs, looking out at the field, the sky, and the line of ambulances waiting. Her hands still trembled slightly, ink from her sketchbook smudged on her fingertips. A reporter tried to push through the crowd, shouting, "Who landed the plane? Was it the captain?" No one answered. Then the woman from row 17 saw her and rushed forward. "It was her," she said, pointing. "The girl. The quiet one." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras turned. Lena froze. The woman stepped closer and gently pressed the folded drawing back into Lena's hands. "You gave me peace when I needed it. Then you gave it to everyone else." Lena didn't speak. She just smiled, small, soft, and full of something older than her years. Then she turned and walked toward the paramedics, unnoticed by most, but unforgettable to those who'd watched her fly. Later, headlines would call her a miracle. A hero. But those on the flight would remember her differently. A girl with a sketchbook. A dove. And the quiet strength to catch a falling sky.